A team of scientists may have just solved a 50-year-long solar mystery that could help us understand the sun better and predict solar storms here on Earth more accurately. They found that ions in solar flares are heated up to 60 million degrees. That's about 10 times hotter than scientists previously thought possible. And it could mean we need to rethink some things about how the sun works. To give you an idea of just how hot that is, when our team of astrophysicists at Science News were trying to figure out the temperature of these solar flares, they compared them to the center of our sun, which is about 15 million degrees. So these solar flares are about 4 times hotter than the center of our sun. So why does any of this matter? Well, our sun is a ball of plasma held together by its own gravity and powered by nuclear fusion in its core. When the plasma in the sun's corona, which is its outer atmosphere, gets all twisted up and builds up a lot of magnetic energy, it can suddenly release that energy in a solar flare. These solar flares send plasma and radiation hurtling toward Earth. And while they can cause beautiful auroras when they reach our planet, they can also disrupt important things like our telecommunications and our power grid system. So being able to accurately predict how often these solar flares will occur and how strong they will be is really important. For a long time, scientists thought that the energy released from these solar flares was mostly carried by electrons. Electrons are negatively charged particles that whiz around the sun and are key to our understanding of how everything in the universe is put together. But in the 1970s, scientists began to realize that there were positively charged particles in solar flares. These particles, called ions, make up a huge chunk of the solar wind, which is the stream of charged particles flowing from the sun at about 186 miles per second. But until recently, we haven't had very good data on what kinds of ions are present in solar flares or how fast they move. And that's where this new research comes in. Using the solar mass ejection imager on board the Parker Solar Probe, researchers captured images of a solar mass ejection during a solar flare. In 2021, they then used a spectrometer to analyze the light coming from the event and determine its temperature. The results, published in Nature Astronomy, showed that the ions in this particular solar flare were heated up to 60 million degrees. This finding has shocked scientists because it's much hotter than what they expected theoretically. It turns out that the temperature of these ions is about 10 times higher than scientists previously thought possible. And it's so hot that the researchers double and triple check their work to make sure their instruments weren't picking up some other kind of energy source. But even though this was just one solar flare, the researchers think that it could represent a typical event because they analyzed data from the same kind of solar flare 7 times over the course of a year and got similar results every time. Okay, great! We figured out that solar flares can get really, really hot. But why should you care? Well, turns out the reason is pretty simple. This discovery could help protect important things on Earth from being zapped by solar flares. See, it turns out that these super hot ions are not as rare as scientists thought they were. In fact, they're probably responsible for a majority of the energy carried by solar mass ejections. This means that when these super hot ions reach Earth, they could potentially mess with our satellites, our telecommunications, and our global positioning systems. So the next step is to study these solar events as they happen and try to figure out if and when they will disrupt important things on Earth. This could help us protect important infrastructure from damage and keep people safe during solar storms. It could also help make space travel safer. As more and more of us venture out into orbit, we need to understand the risks of galactic cosmic rays and solar storms. These particles can pose a serious threat to astronauts and their equipment. So figuring out ways to protect ourselves from them is crucial for future space travel. And finally, understanding these solar events can help us better understand our world here on Earth. The upper atmosphere extends all the way from the Earth's surface to about 530 miles above our heads. It's full of tons of different particles, and it plays a big role in our lives. It protects us from harmful radiation and helps regulate our climate. Understanding how these particles interact with each other and with the energy coming from the sun could help us understand our world in new ways. So, next time you look up at the sun, remember that it's not just a ball of gas that gives us light and warmth. It's also a massive nuclear fusion reactor that sends tons of crazy hot particles hurtling toward Earth. And thanks to one team of scientists, we might be a little bit better prepared for them. Researchers are still analyzing data from this solar flare, so stay tuned to Science News for more updates. Thanks for watching this episode of See Show Space, and thank you to our President of Science. Your generous support makes it possible for us to bring cool science stuff to the whole internet.